What's up, everybody? Welcome to Heresy Financial. This is the channel where we talk about financial education and topics in a way that's considered heresy to the financial establishment. And today is no exception. We're going to be talking about taxes and why it's important, even if you're just an employee, to understand the tax code, understand how taxes work, and how it can impact you. So we're going to be focusing on three things today. We're going to be first looking at interest-free loans. And this is the number one reason why most people should learn the tax system, because the vast majority of people use taxes as a forced savings account. This is probably one of the dumbest things that you can do with your money. You over withhold on your taxes so that at the end of the year, you can get a tax return. The only thing you're doing here is providing an interest-free loan to the government. The second riskiest thing that you could do with your money is probably buy a U.S. Treasury, a bond from the government. But at least then you're getting interest by giving the money to the government. But when you over withhold on your taxes, what you're essentially doing is you're giving the money to the government, handing it over and saying, you're smarter with my money than I am. I want you to take more of it than you're actually going to need, and then you can give it back to me in, a couple of months, 9 months, 6 months, next year, and then I'm not going to charge you interest for it. You just give it back to me when I've, when tax time comes. So, like I said, it's probably one of the dumbest things that you can do with your money. The only people that you should probably be giving interest-free loans to are, close friends or family, right? Otherwise, what, you could even open up a CD and you get, 1%. So interest-free loans are not the smartest thing here, especially to the U.S. government, because if you have any financial sense at all, you're probably going to be able to do something smarter with that money than the government will. So the option here, instead of over withholding, is to do a little bit of math. So you have to sit down and you have to look at, hey, how much money will I probably make this year? Am I going to make, 30,000, 60,000, 100,000, whatever it is, whether it's just you or you're married, you can pile up all of your gross income all together and say, okay, this is how much money I'm going to make. And the IRS even provides calculators for you on their website where you can plug this information in. You can say, hey, do we have any kids? Are we going to have, do we have a mortgage? Do we pay mortgage interest? Are there any charitable donations that we're making? Are we going to exceed the standard deduction this year? So you plug in all of this information and it'll say, here's how much you'll probably owe in taxes. And if you keep on withholding at the same rate, we're going to be able to give you, a $1,000 return or a $3,000 return, or maybe at the end of the year, you're going to owe us this much in taxes. So the best thing to do is get right on the line, because you don't want to necessarily wind up with a giant tax bill come tax time, because that will probably come at you as a surprise, and you might not have that much just ready to cut a check. And so you want to get as close as possible to exactly how much you're going to owe. You don't want a huge return. You don't want a huge bill. But you don't want to be loaning the government interest-free loans. You don't want to be handing over your money as a forced savings account, because if you just hang on to that money yourself instead, you can actually earn some interest on it. And then if you really start to learn about how money works and you start investing that instead, well, now you're really cooking. Now you're really in high gear. But you don't want to be loaning the government interest-free loans. So that's the number one reason why everybody should learn about how taxes work. It really doesn't require that much effort. You just go onto their website, you plug your information in, and get as close as possible to the amount that you're going to owe. The second reason why it's important to understand the tax code and learn about how taxes work is because the entire tax code is designed to incentivize behavior. There's a very small portion of the IRS tax code that is actually looking at, how much we're going to charge you, how much you owe in taxes. The rest of the tax code is it's designed to provide different incentives for different areas of the market and the economy and business. It's designed to incentivize behavior. If you do A, we'll give you this tax break. If you do B, we'll give you this tax break. If you do C, we'll give you this tax break. That's the entire tax code. It's all written in order to provide tax breaks, and the purpose of that is to incentivize behavior. One really great example of this is low-income housing. There are a lot of tax breaks and tax benefits given to investors and businesses who provide income to, provide housing to low-income neighborhoods, low-income housing. And the reason for that is because the government wants there to be good, affordable housing for people who don't earn a lot of money. And so they're going to give tax breaks to people who have the means to provide that housing. And so you can look at this, whether you want to agree or disagree with, whether it should be happening or shouldn't be happening. The rich guys getting the tax breaks for, having, these apartment complexes just designed specifically for poor people. Whether you want to look at that as a good thing or a bad thing, that's up to you. But the fact of the matter is that's how the IRS tax code is designed. So the game is being played. Are you going to play by the rules, or are you just going to complain about the rules? Because if you start to learn the tax code, then you can start playing by the rules and you can start to benefit from it instead of just complaining about it. And so regardless of who gets elected, regardless of what laws pass, the IRS tax code is a monster, and it takes a lot to make any significant changes to it. And so the reason I'm saying that is because the likelihood that anything significant changes, massive sweeping overhauls to the tax code, even if we do get somebody in office who is, wants to push extremely socialist policies and start charging a ton of taxes and eliminate all tax breaks, the likelihood of something like that happening is very slim. And so learning how the tax code works and what behaviors are incentivized is it's a long-term play. It's something that you're going to be able to benefit from for a long time. And so I've heard the most patriotic thing you can do, this is from Tom Wheelwright and maybe even Robert Kiyosaki, but I think Tom Wheelwright, he's a tax guru, said this. He said the most patriotic thing you can do is pay zero taxes, because the government has specifically set up all these rules, and they say, hey, if you do all these things that we want you to do, we want you to help out our society, we want you to do X, Y, and Z because we feel that'll benefit our country, then you'll get these tax breaks. And so if you're not paying taxes, you're doing exactly what our voted officials have said, we want you to do this. So the most patriotic thing, everybody's blasting Amazon. I think last year they paid zero in federal income tax, but it was because, they did pay state taxes and they did pay employment taxes. And so there were other taxes that they paid. It was just the federal income tax that they didn't pay. It's due to the fact that they're just following all these rules that the government has set up. They say, hey, we want these things to take place. And so if you do these things, we'll give you these tax breaks. Well, Amazon took advantage of them. And so they got the tax breaks. And these tax breaks, it's not a rigged game. It's not unfair. All these tax breaks are available to anybody who plays by the rules. If you do X, Y, or Z, you get A, B, and C, just like Amazon did and just like anybody can. Which brings us to the final point. The tax code is pro-business. It's not pro-employee. And there's a big difference. Employees pay the most taxes of anybody. If you are just a W-2 wage earner, you're going to pay more in taxes than any other group. If you are a self-employed individual, a contractor, you earn 1099 income, you're going to be better off from a tax perspective than somebody who has a W-2 job. And so the point is that the IRS tax code is pro-business. So there are a lot of people who are in a role as an employee that they could also do if they quit and they became a contractor. They could get work themselves and they could, they'd be a contractor, maybe you lose your benefits and you maybe have to get paid a little bit more so you can, buy your own benefits, or, whatever. I'm not recommending specifics here, but I'm just saying this is how the tax code works. There are more incentives the more you get towards business. And so even a contractor, self-employed individual, you're gonna have a little bit more beneficial tax system on your side than you will if you're just an employee. Really the only thing you can do if you're an employee is don't over withhold on your taxes, contribute to your 401k, and maybe buy a house. Maybe give to charity. But ultimately, the things that you can do when you're just an employee to help you out on your taxes is just deferring or giving up your income. You're either putting it into a 401k or you're giving it to charity. So when you're a business, however, you can do things that are actually going to benefit you tax-wise. And the reason for that is because the government knows that ultimately our country grows and relies on and is built on businesses and commerce, and our whole entire economic system is built on the free exchange market. And so it is designed to be pro-business to incentivize business behaviors. The more things that they start to tax, the more they disincentivize those behaviors. Anytime they put a tax on something, they're basically saying, we don't want our country to be involved in this as much. We're gonna make it more expensive to make people not do this as much. So the tax breaks come into businesses, and they're focused on areas that the government wants to incentivize and build and grow. So those are the reasons why it's very important to understand how taxes work, understand the tax code. One book recommendation, if you want to go really deep into this, is Tom Wheelwright's book. It's called Tax-Free Wealth. I'll put the link to buy the book on Amazon in the description below. It's my favorite book on taxes, and it's very well written, but a little bit of warning, it's not for just an employee. There's, like I said, very little you can do to help yourself out with taxes if you're just an employee. But if you're a contractor or you have a small business or even a big business, there are a lot of things in that book that can really help you out with your taxes. So if you want to go deeper, I would suggest taking a look at that book. I really enjoyed it. But thank you so much for watching, and you guys have a great day.